So, here we are, the semi-final of the ESL Pro Series. That is where things are very, very excited. Because the winner of this goes on to the finals. They get to face off for the glory of being the best European team. And also a fair bit of money. Anyway, spawning down in the bottom right hand position as the red Zerg player. Representing Team Acer, it is Nerchio. And his opponent in the top left, the blue Zerg player representing my insanity. It's Kane. So, both of these two are very, very good. Nerchio looking strong in game number 1 after a very, very aggressive opening and entire build order from Kane. Kane was aiming to win that series fast and win that game exceptionally fast. Anyway, for the moment, you just got to keep a close peek on exactly what is going to be going on. And well, if it is able to keep going, then obviously Nerchio would win this series. And if Nerchio is able to win this series, well, that's when you get obviously a lot more fun occurring, because it will mean that we get Nerchio going up against ZvZ. That's something that I cannot wait to see if it happens. But this game, we've got Kane currently opening up with a hatchery first, so not going for anything too crazy or too bold as of yet. Meanwhile, down in the bottom right, Nerchio, he's open with a spawning pool first, going to be following that up with his hatchery straight after. Neither player going to be doing anything too risky or too crazy as of yet. It's not the end of the road there. You can still transition out of this with something crazy if you wanted to, but both players getting their gases down at the same time. Everything looking relatively safe. Now, as you can see, both of these two are still going on with their banter. I think it's a fair comment to make that not too much love is lost between the two of them. Whether ZvZ will be as chatty, we'll have to keep an eye out for, but I suspect not, knowing ZvZ. He'll probably be proper professional with it, and focused. Be there for the game, be there for the win. Assuming we get that. I realised there I was maybe preempting things. Kane is not out of this series yet. I've realised I haven't updated the scoreboard, but there we go. So, Kane, what has he got to do to beat Nerchio? Well, for a start, if he's going to go for an all-in like the one he did in game number 1, by golly, it has to do more than basically no damage. That's kind of self-explanatory. If, though, he wants to take it to the later stages, he needs to make sure that he's got the income, that he's got the supply, he's got the drone count. And if he can do that, actually, he's in with a good shot. There's so much you've got to keep a close eye on. You've got to make sure that there's no sneaky lings making its way through. You've got to make sure that you're not getting out-teched rapidly by your opponent. And that's really what lost Kane that last game. Even though the pressure put on was nice, it didn't do that much damage, but it was still an aggressive opening. It was the fact that Nerchio had Mutalisks out. That is what shut down the play in one super easy move. I've also realised for anyone on stream that my webcam has frozen in the most hilarious position ever. And that is some bad times. So I'm hoping that that's fixed when I next go into it. And anyone on the VOD will never see that. That's why you should sub to my Twitch channel, for anyone wondering. Anyway, the two baling nests are on their way down at the moment. So, all in all, I'm quite happy with how this game is going. It's looking to be a very standard opening. First bit of variation coming down now. An evolution chamber from Kane. Meanwhile, a lair on its way out from Nerchio at the moment. It's a fairly safe way to play it because getting that lair down is the more normal option. However, a double evolution chamber now from Kane. This is a bit more interesting. So how could Kane make this work? Well, on the one hand, he could get will get double upgrades. It's just whether it's the missile attack or the melee attack. Carapace gets started up first. That means that his lings take an extra hit from banelings. Important. Whether he gets the missile attack down will really tell us whether he's going for a lot of lings or if he's going to be going for Roach Hydra or something like that. And he needs to consider some form of anti-air. But it's not. It's going to be the melee upgrades. So it's a strategy I haven't seen for quite a long time. There was a period where a lot longer ago, it was a very popular build, or at least quite popular build for many Zerg players to go for the double melee upgrades. A lot of Lings upgraded, going very aggressive. Fell a bit out of favour, and I haven't actually seen it used for a very long time. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad that it's fallen out of favour. All that means is that it may catch Nerchio off guard. But Nerchio is going in to try and force the cancel on that third base. Remember, he's got Overlord positioned perfectly to see when it's coming down, and he wants to force that cancel. If this base came up, it would be frustrating. The good number of Lings on their way over. The hatchery will be forced to cancel. It's frustrating. The drone stays alive for the moment though. There we go. Is on its way through. So, gets back started. For the moment, Nerchio hasn't got his own third on its way out quite yet. And well, I'm actually quite happy with how this is going. Still, and I know I've said that a couple of times, so it's just to be aware that neither player taking a monumental lead as of yet. My big concern is this Spire for Nerchio, because once he gets Mutalisks out, the only anti-air available to Kane currently are his Queens, and if he makes them Spore Crawlers, he has no Hydralisks, no Mutalisks. Not even any Infestors to use, but he's going so aggressive. His 1-1 upgrades are still, though, 40 seconds away from completion in-game. That's quite a while. Once it's done, though, those Zerglings are actually quite terrifying. They take 2 hits from Banelings and they dish out, my goodness, a lot of damage. And that's what we're going to see Kane try to utilize. But Nerchio, with 9 Mutalisks on the way, has got air superiority to the max. He can start picking off Overlords around the map, pushing back all of Kane's vision, taking out any Banelings that may try and sneak their way through. Though, for the moment, there aren't really any Banelings there. There's 2 defensively for Kane, but none on the other side of the map. Big Baneling detonation goes down. Reveals the +1 carapace is done. And of course, these Lings only survive with a couple of HP. Really not much. But they move in. They're going to be able to force a cancel on that third. Even though the Mutalisks are there and didn't do damage, Kane was still able to take out the third hatch. Exactly what he's going to have been looking for. Meanwhile, Nerchio is stuck on 2 bases, but his Mutalisks are out. That's forcing Spore Crawlers from Kane. He's got to get some defense against that Muta threat, and the Queens alone will not be enough. The Spores will certainly help until a point. And that point is roughly once the Mutaflock starts spiraling out of control. A Spore gets taken down there. Nice little pick off. A Queen is also going to die. Just backs away, so he doesn't quite get taken down. But now, so many Overlords are just free to Nerchio at the moment. This will supply Kane after the next one, and he's just actually going to get quite a heavy supply block there. More Overlords are in production, but this is an expense that Kane doesn't really want to be spending. He can't afford it in comparison to Nerchio due to having that extra mining base for the time being, but he's got to be dealing some damage off the back of this. More defensive Banelings getting morphed in currently from Nerchio. The Mutalisks though tearing it up at the natural base. A couple more Spores are there. The Queens are there. One more Queen will die. The Spore Crawler gets a couple of nice hits down. Meanwhile, the pressure waiting. Not yet commencing from Kane. He's got to do something. He can't just sit here, allowing Nerchio to build up more and more of a defense and deal more and more damage with these Mutas. They are seriously starting to hurt. No Spore here, indeed, Nerchio, and that's what's allowing all of these drones to get taken down. Queens on their way up, but the Queens alone against what is now 13 Mutalisks is certainly looking unlucky for Kane. Drones are getting decimated. 11 workers now killed. Roaches coming out, but they're not too much of a help up against Mutas. The ground push needs to have momentum to it. Is Kane going to be able to make much work? Well, Nerchio pulls back. Many Banelings are available. A couple of good connections. Remember, with the +1/1 upgrades, it takes 2 Banelings to kill Lings. But still, with this many Banelings, Nerchio's got some to spare to make it work. The Mutalisks is starting to pick away at some of these Roaches. Nerchio with an 8-worker lead, but still only on 2 bases. His third, once again, going to be forced to cancel as these Lings come in. The Zergling on Zergling fight is going to go quite heavily into Kane's favour until the Banelings come through due to those 1/1 upgrades. But it's the Mutalisks still tearing it up through the skies that are causing the problems. Kane is able to put on pressure, forcing Nerchio to defend while he attempts to get down Pathogen Glands so he's got some fungal growths to try and aid against those Mutalisks. But can he get them in time? Does Kane have the gas for it? No, that's my concern. He's currently only sitting on 4 gases. not mining out of the main either, so he's actually only mining out of one gas worth of income. That's not enough to be able to afford investors, and I don't think Kane has realized. So Nerchio now spiraling in terms of his supply lead. Gonna be aiming to hold up that third for as long as possible. Still going in with more pressure, more spores being forced, but with this many Mutalisks on the ground, they would start destroying them so fast. With good spore coverage, Mutalisks aren't able to come in and harass too much, just due to the amount of damage they deal up against Mutas. But the Mutas can still pick away at anything that tries to come through. Kane, for the third time now, moving in towards that third base, is going to try to force the cancel. Nerchio moving with a couple of lings over there. But the cancel is once more forced. This is incredibly tough. And all while it continues, Nerchio is continually having to defend. He has to keep bringing his push back and just being as cautious as he can. He can't afford to keep this game going on much longer while a third base is not up. Kane's had his for a mighty long time. He's up in drones still, and while his tech may not be great, the first few infestors are now trickling out. Kane consistently moving in, taking out the third, forcing that cancel, and that's causing Nerchio some problems. The Banelings are getting some nice detonations now though, and while the Speedlings have made it into the natural, there's not many of them there. Cleaned up quickly by Nerchio. Kane also trying to get the new third base, but is unable, rejected by Nerchio's Banelings, and for the moment, Kane forced to retreat back. Nerchio now still ahead in terms of the overall supply, but not by a massive margin as of yet. The infestors are certainly going to be beneficial to Kane in order to hold off these Mutalisks, but he's got to get some good fungals. Nice fungal growth goes down on the Banelings, is not able to quite detonate them, leaves them with 1 HP, incredibly close to the mark, but that makes them an easy target to get sniped off by things, anything really, from the roaches, from the oddling, from a couple of queen shots. Anything will start taking out those Banelings now, but the Mutaflock is the real threat to Kane. Weaving in and out from the different bases, taking out evolution chambers, just little bits of damage which are annoying, really to start knocking back Kane from his overall game plan. The Roach Warren is exposed as well without any Spore Crawlers in position or any Queens there. Starts taking some damage. That's a target I suspect Nerchio may loop back round to again. If he's able to take out that Roach Warren, a lot of the potential pressure we may see from Kane gets shut out. But Kane, once more, starts heading towards that third base. He's not got many roaches, and that's allowing a good concave to be achieved by Nerchio. That push shut down. A couple of things do make it up into the main base, but not enough to be traumatic. No damage really being achieved by Kane at the moment. If we take a peek at the resources lost, we can see he's actually throwing away a lot of resources up against Nerchio. And while Nerchio is trading more cost effectively and has equal bases at last, that's actually a bit of a problem. So, in we go now with some good fungals coming down from Kane. His queen count very high, able to transfuse the majority of his army to try to bring that resources lost difference a bit more equal. But the downside to that though is that the queens, while quite good, are susceptible to being very defensive. Moving them across the map is exceptionally hard if you don't have good creep spread or a Nidus one. Those are two things that Kane doesn't possess. The queens though are very good up against the Mutalisks. There's a nice bit of anti-air, but look at this concave now from Nerchio. Great amount of roach coverage there. He's got superior numbers. The Mutalisks are now moving forward. The infestors without energy for fungal growth are pretty much dead weight at the back there. Only a couple of infested Terrans will get thrown down, but the big thing is just the sheer numbers Nerchio has. Kane's supply count plummeting before our very eyes, and Nerchio over doubling his army supply forces the GG from Kane. And Nerchio will take the series 2-0, meaning that we get our ace match. Jackchi versus Nerchio.